on this edition of Falmouth in Focus. Officials announced new funding to fight human trafficking on Cape Cod. It's a bigger problem than you may think. Cape Cod Symphony spices up events at its Falmouth campus, aiming to raise the location's profile as a cultural destination. And turning to the solace of the sea, a nonprofit that takes troubled veterans on fishing excursions, raises funds and awareness with a battle of the local chowders. This is Falmouth in Focus, and it starts right now. Hello and welcome to Falmouth in Focus, a bi-monthly roundup of local events and FCTV member engagement with the community. I'm Michael Kasparian.
And I'm Eileen Preston. We begin with a problem authorities have been confronting on a national and local scale for some time. It's human trafficking. It happens all over the United States, and that means it happens here too. Now, officials are getting some critical help to engage the issue head on. Recently, Cape Cod and the Islands District Attorney Robert J. Galliboy held a widely attended press conference on crime at the Barnstable Court Complex. The DA announced grants totaling over $196,000 awarded to both victim advocacy services and law enforcement partners in Barnstable, Yarmouth, and Falmouth to combat human and drug trafficking.
So it's a very exciting time with this money. It's not over. While we're certainly happy to receive these funds, we know there are further opportunities available for us in federal grants through the Department of Justice. We will be seeking additional funding so we can promote awareness regarding human trafficking. We can help our law enforcement partners build the investigations that they need to build to bring the cases, that we can try to work with survivors and, of course, prosecute the offenders.
With a 31% rise in human trafficking last year on the Cape, the district attorney has announced the creation of a child protection and human trafficking unit with a new chief, Vanessa Madge, who explained that sex traffickers find their victims in a variety of ways.
In regards to sex trafficking, a lot of people might have a misperception that it involves, other countries or people being brought over borders or people being tied up. And that's not how it always is. Trafficking under Massachusetts law, we have a very broad statute, and it doesn't require force, fraud, or coercion. So that's really great, and it gives us a lot of great tools. So that could be, you are profiting off of somebody having a date, is what they call it in the life, right? So you could be arranging for someone to have a date. Oftentimes nowadays it happens online. You could post someone on an online website, offer their sexual services. You could even just be posting that on, receive the money for it, drive them to the hotel, drive them to the other location, and all of that comes under sex trafficking, and you can be held accountable for all of that. So how is it happening? It's really happening online where people are posting that way, and they're meeting at hotels, or they might be meeting in a car, or they might be going to someone's house. And so it's kind of happening to a variety of people, very young. And basically traffickers look to expose people's vulnerabilities, as I've heard other people in the field say, especially Detective Parachi. And so it could be somebody who needs, maybe like in another location where I worked, a young girl as young as 14 years old. She came from a normal life that was stable, and she ended up getting into trafficking because she wanted a cell phone, and her parents wouldn't buy her a cell phone because they didn't want to expose her to a variety of things. Well, she wanted a cell phone, and so there was a trafficker out there that exploited that. And so, that's how she did. Oftentimes, and other people better experienced can speak of this, individuals could be looking for love or could be looking for a narcotic that they're dependent on. And so a trafficker will come out and exploit that. So there's a variety of ways. And in regards to labor trafficking, that is something that definitely needs more awareness here on Cape Cod. There are a number of individuals who come work seasonally, who come from other countries, who may or may not know all of their rights. And so that's definitely an area that needs more awareness, and I think is particular to Cape Cod with all the seasonal work.
That full news conference, including testimony from trafficking survivors, is available to watch on FCTV's cable and streaming platforms. You know, one interesting discussion in that conference, Michael, was that some funding may go to help train medical and even hotel workers out in the community so that they can see subtle signs of human trafficking. You know, see something, say something, and report something suspicious.
That's good news that that funding is going to be used for that because, you know, here being a tourism destination, a lot of the workers are in that industry, and that'd be a big help.
Absolutely.
The Department of Public Works has issued an alert for small craft mariners traveling in and out of Woods Hole. It concerns the Eel Pond Drawbridge on Water Street that straddles the pond and Great Harbor. DPW officials say electrical repairs are being conducted on the bridge and that it is not expected to be in full operation until further notice. Boaters that need to get in and out of Eel Pond should contact the bridge tender at least 30 minutes in advance during daytime hours to arrange for a manual raising of the bridge. The number to do that is 508-540-9462. Eileen, that announcement kind of calls to mind the original Woods Hole boat, the Spritzel, that had a collapsible mast. You could just fold it down and pass through in the days before they had a raisable drawbridge.
Oh, wow. In fact, Michael, just up the street from the drawbridge, you can see a Spritzel from the 1890s on display at the Woods Hole Historical Museum. You can also see it on the museum's website, if you have a reliable web connection. And that brings us to our next item.
Okay.
Activists that want to see the funding and construction of a fully public broadband network in Falmouth have laid out their case in a recent forum carried on FCTV. Here's a short excerpt from that event now.
We all know that access to the internet is just as important as access to water or electricity. The digital world is increasingly the site of education, job applications, doctors' appointments, and so much more. So here's the truth. When a town like Falmouth decides to invest in a municipal broadband network, it is injecting a much-needed dose of competition into an uncompetitive market. It is giving its residents and businesses a real choice in broadband providers. And in town after town, when households are given the choice, the answer is obvious. The municipal network wins. So ultimately, an investment in municipal broadband is an investment in the local community, and we just have to tip our cap to what you're doing.
I want to just draw people's attention to 4 priorities for that we all hold in our minds when we talk about a locally controlled Falmouth-wide or even region-wide broadband network. So number 1 is the fiber to the home itself. Number 2 is competition. Number 3 would be some form of local control, and that's a negotiable thing. You know, to what extent does the town actually control its own fate? And number 4 would be participation in the revenues that this network would generate.
Community broadband, as much as I would love to see every single city and town in this country own their own broadband network, it's not for every city. It's not for every town. But you should have a choice. And there shouldn't be any political or legal or economic barriers to that. And there certainly shouldn't be any industry-funded dark money groups trying to basically tell you lies to slow you down or prevent you from doing that. So the turning point really for community broadband, in my opinion, was the COVID-19 pandemic. When we quarantined in our homes, it became clear to everyone in the US, regardless of political affiliation, geographic location, economic status, race, or gender, that access to high-speed, affordable broadband is necessary for full participation in our society and our economy. Now, I've believed that for a very long time, but believe it or not, you know, prior to the pandemic, there were still people who were saying that it was a luxury, but nobody says that anymore. Nobody says it with a straight face anyway. But for a town like Falmouth, and frankly, all of Cape Cod, there were so many other positive downstream effects and enormous opportunities that broadband enables. So let's tick through some of them. Reliable and affordable broadband increases home values and attracts, among other things, businesses and jobs, scientific research and educational institutions, home builders, newer, younger residents, and importantly, for Falmouth and Cape Cod, tourists. Particularly in a post-pandemic world, millions of people can live and work from anywhere, but that anywhere has to have robust broadband. I have a brother-in-law who works outside of Raleigh, North Carolina. He's got a new home business. He doesn't build anywhere where there isn't fiber. It's not even a possibility for him. So you want new homes, you want new residents, you want younger residents, you want to, build up the lifeblood of the community. You need to have reliable, fast broadband.
However you get your broadband, you can stream the forum and all FCTV content via your favorite online platforms. Just head to fctv.org/watch for details.
We're going to take a quick break, but there's lots more to come, including some new rhythms at the Cape Cod Symphony's Highfield venue. And a young new nonprofit helping struggling veterans brings the area's best chowder cooks under one roof to raise awareness.
My trafficker was my husband. There was no way I could reach out to anybody for help.
We're scared. We're scared to run. We're scared to tell anybody what's going on.
It was an incredibly violent situation. I felt like there was no way I could get out.
Human traffickers can be just about anyone from any walk of life. A lot of the trafficking involves domestic servitude, hoteliers, restaurant owners, owners of massage parlors, agricultural farm owners.
It can be a trafficker who tells a woman, I want to be your boyfriend, I love you, and if you love me, you're going to go out and have sex for money. It can be kind of psychological like that, or it can be more overt and more physical. It can be hitting, abusing, keeping them away from any support systems.
Trafficking, it doesn't know any boundaries. The victim can be male, female, transgendered, anyone. And it happens all over America.
I still see this attitude of it's just immigrants or it's just people in other countries. It happens to U.S. citizens so much more than people are aware.
The natural stakeholders in this issue are certainly law enforcement, legal advocates, social service providers. There's other players involved as well.
It is important to engage the community because victims often don't self-identify. They don't come forward to law enforcement.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Citizens in the community are the eyes and the ears.
It's medical workers, it's educators, it's personnel at homeless shelters.
We can't do this alone. No one has the capacity to provide every single thing that a victim or survivor of human trafficking needs.
There has to be a support system within the community, psychological counseling, shelter, and vocational education so they can reintegrate, become a healthy individual.
There's an intentional effort to get everyone together so we know how to share resources, we know how to work together, and to make sure at the end of the day, a victim becomes a survivor.
The Falmouth Senior Center is hosting a weekly meetup to support senior members of our LGBTQIA community. The gatherings get underway February 7th and continue every Wednesday at the center from 9 a.m. to 10:15 a.m. The Senior Center describes the weekly meetings as a safe place to receive support and to discuss the unique needs of Falmouth's Pride community. Falmouth residents aged 60 years and older are invited, along with allies of the community.
It's that time of year again when students at Falmouth High School embrace the spirit of positivity and cooperation they call No Guff. The 20-year-old tradition aims to make students feel safe and take a mutual stand against bullying of any kind. Ryan Weber brings us some of this year's No Guff sights and sounds.
No Guff winners are selected by their peers as the students and staff who act with kindness and practice No Guff every day. From Falmouth High School's freshman class, Kinley Moen and Mo Lind. From the sophomore class, Kayla Cowie and Trey Cardoza. The juniors, Brody Costa and Casey Roth. Seniors, Tommy Bushy and Kate Jackson. This year's staff awards went to Paula Carlson Cahill and Abby Peterson. This year, the Principal's No Guff Award was changed to the Mr. Crocker Kindness Award. Mr. Crocker has taught and coached at Falmouth High for more than 30 years, and students describe him as the teacher who knows how to make someone's day better. He is the trusted adult that we can always reach out to with any situation. This year, the student who was selected for this award that embodies that type of kindness was Louis Uric Farrar.
Just about everyone is familiar with the ascent of Highfield Drive, leading to beautiful Highfield Hall and gardens. And just next to it is Highfield Theater, where the Falmouth Theater Guild puts on its season. But tucked in just a bit further is the Falmouth campus of the Cape Cod Symphony. And you might say that building has gotten a bit less public attention than its two big neighbors.
Well, the Cape Cod Symphony team is aiming to change that. They want to make the Falmouth campus a more front-of-mind destination for people to enjoy concerts, classes, and other community events. FCTV stopped by to listen more closely.
My name is Julian Loida, and I'm head of programming and innovation for the Falmouth campus building for the Cape Symphony. Trying to bring some things forward, bring in the sort of next generation of programming, the next generation of thinking. For one way to say is more inclusivity of the cultures in Falmouth, the cultures on Cape Cod. Our first concert of 2024 was Cookoff Brass, and it was really amazing. FCTV was here, filmed it. It was so great. And that show was so special because there were about 100 people in the room, and you had these people from Ghana, drummers, master drummers here showing dance moves, really just letting out their traditions and people just receiving it. That was such a sort of culminating moment of like, this is what we've been dreaming of, and this finally happened. In Falmouth, we have in March New England folk dancing, contra dancing, Scottish Ceilidh, community dance in this space with Summer McCall, Kelly Family Band, and Rose Clancy. In April, we have Candida Rose with Kabu Jazz, Cape Verdean Jazz. That'll be amazing. And then in May, we have Nina Ott, Icha Azul, and that'll be sort of Latin jazz, really high-level musicians as well. And then in June, we have Brian Calhoun, who plays basically Broadway tunes, show tunes, pop songs on the marimba, and sings, and it's just like a very feel-good show. It's really great. He's so warm and vulnerable. It's great. So there's so much programming, and we want to bring so much culture and arts to Falmouth. So it's really right here in your backyard.
If you'd like to hear more sounds from Cookoff Brass, you're in luck. FCTV is rebroadcasting the full event.
Nice.
Check fctv.org/watch for airtimes and streaming platforms.
We're back in just a moment with an urgent effort to help troubled veterans one fishing trip at a time.
If you've been ripped off by a contractor, repairman, or auto mechanic, call us. We can help. If you're having billing problems about a cell phone or a problem with an online purchase, we can definitely help. Consumer problems like these happen every day on Cape Cod. I know. I'm Bruce Blackwell, Executive Director of the Consumer Assistance Council. For nearly 50 years, the CAC has been advocating for you when you've been ripped off. Whenever you have a problem with a merchant, reach out to us. We'll get in touch with them and get you help. And we do it for free. That's right, no charge. We're a nonprofit agency that works with the Attorney General's office. We can't give you legal advice, but we can help you get justice. In the last few years alone, we've recovered nearly $1 million for Cape Cod residents. The Consumer Assistance Council, we fight for you.
There is hope. Share your thoughts.
Talk to us.
Be a lifeline.
You are not alone.
You are not alone.
You are not alone.
You are not alone.
A Buzzards Bay-based nonprofit that helps troubled veterans find a path to healing is expanding into Falmouth by taking on several local board members here in town. The group is called Fishing for the Mission 22. That number, 22, is a somber reference to the 22 American veterans, on average, that take their own lives every day.
For veterans in crisis, healing can start with a simple invitation to go fishing, alongside military comrades who might be sharing the same feelings. But those excursions and other mental health resources the group provides cost money. To raise funds, Fishing for the Mission 22 invited a dozen or so restaurants to lock ladles in a chowder cook-off for the cause.
My name's Harold Skelton, the founder and president of Fishing for the Mission 22. The number 22 represents the 22 veterans we continue to lose to suicide every day in this nation. We use a therapeutic approach to recreational fishing. What it really is to us is bonding. A lot of veterans that we see, being a veteran myself, is we used to be on a team. And what we find is the veterans that come on our trips, that they're on that team again. They feel important. They feel like they're part of that team, and we're finding that they're connecting after our trips, which is important.
This organization, it's about helping other people. As an entertainer, I travel the globe entertaining our men and women, so it really hits home to me when we have this opportunity to make veterans' lives, veterans with PTSD, veterans that just having problems getting reacclimated into society, and it really means something to me that we can have a small part in making their lives a little bit more comfortable and more easier and happy.
So this is our second annual Chowder Fest. We got, I think, 13 local restaurants that participated. Everyone that buys a ticket to come in, they get a sample of the chowder and then they can vote on it.
So our clam chowder is amazing, and we decided to add lobster to kick it up a notch.
It's everything fresh and organic. We have toppers of bacon and chives, but in the chowder itself, I use fresh thyme.
There's a little bit of smokiness from the apple with smoked bacon in there, some of the spices that we use.
Lime, lemon, and orange zest. So at the end, you get a little hint of citrus. I call it a summer chowder. It makes me happy.
These kids see a lot of stuff that a lot of civilian life will never see. And sadly, what happens in the military, they all have a plan when you put your name on the dotted line and you serve. But when it comes time to go home, nobody's there guiding you to become the kid you were before you went in.
Thank you everyone for coming out tonight. If you're here, it's clearly because you're like-minded in some essence and believe that our veterans need and deserve support. I'm not going to get through this without crying, and that's just going to have to be A-okay.
My name is Amanda Braga-Tipton. This is my mother, Marlene Braga. Both of us are born and raised in Falmouth. We're here tonight to honor her son, my brother, Sergeant Joshua Owen Tipton, who died by suicide the 5th of July, 2023. A hometown boy, Falmouth born and bred, Falmouth Hospital, all the way up through graduation at Falmouth High School until he decided to join the Army.
Amanda, I told you I'd give you $1,000 to donate to the charity of your choice tonight. So I'm going to hand that check over, and this is going to be in Josh's name.
It's very recent for us, and so we're still walking through the bowels of hell with it in the mourning, the grief, the pain, and all that comes with death by suicide.
For the remainder of my life, if I can bring hope to one, then I'm going to keep fighting the fight and being here. I consider them my daughters and my sons now. And if I can reach one with my life, then I would have lived a wonderful life.
You can learn more about this organization at fishingforthemission22.org. And FCTV will be broadcasting a full-length version of the Chowder Fest event in the days ahead. Check fctv.org for ways to watch or stream the program. And that's going to wrap up our show for the moment. I'm Eileen Preston.
And I'm Michael Kasparian. Eileen, as we go out today, I just wanted to share one more little bit from that Fishing for the Mission event. There was a lot of heavy stuff being said and a fair amount of emotion, but it was also a party. And the main musical attraction was Elvis himself. Not the one from Tennessee, but a local version from Boston. Enjoy his performance, and until next time, we'll see you around town.
We're doing